So in this video, we're going to look at how I make my macrame rainbows. So these rainbow wall hangings. I've got a couple of different sizes here. So there's 4 strings there, 3 different colours on this one. This one I've got 4 different colours, but a bit bigger. So I don't really measure these out as I go. I just make them to the size I want when I make them. So I'll show you how I do those. So what I need is you need some rope. So now this is 0.5 centimeters diameter rope. This one, you can get it all different sizes. I just picked this up from Amazon. I will link it in the description below. But I would recommend, depending on the size you want, if you're doing little ones like this is perfectly fine. If you're doing slightly larger ones, I would go for like the 1 centimeter or the 1.2 centimeter diameter rope. You can make them with this one. However, you just need to put a couple of strings together inside that you bind. That's all. But it is easier with the larger rope because you can just cut one length and you're done. So I use the rope, and then I've got a selection of threads here, all different colours, to pick the thread colours I want. So I'll pick out my threads later in the video. And I've also got some masking tape. Now I use that at the beginning to mask off each string, so I know where I've got to wind the string to on each of the rainbow arches, and I've got my glue gun to secure it in place afterwards. So I will first of all get on with cutting the rope to the right length. So the colours I've chosen for this rainbow, I've got these 3 different shades of blue here, and I've got this lovely metallic gold thread as well. So I'm going to run that through, similar to what I've done to the pink one here. So moving from different shades with a lovely, that one's got some multicoloured, oops, that one's got a lovely multicoloured silver with a bit of a sort of an oil effect. So it's got lots of different colours in the thread. I don't know if you can see that on there, but it's very pretty. But this one I'm going to use the gold thread in. So first of all, I need to cut my rope. So looking at how big I want that middle arch, so I think I'll go about there. Now I want this slightly thicker, so I'm going to do 2 or 3 strands of each rope at that length. Again, like I said, it's easier in a way if sometimes you use the thicker rope, but I don't have any at the moment, so I am not doing that, unfortunately. And do that, and you get your masking tape. My masking tape is torn, of course, just to be awkward. There we go. So we just need length for each side, because you're taping up to where, like I said, the rope is going to be wound to, and then the bits at the bottom will be unwound, as you can see here, and they make like fluffy clouds at the end of your rainbow. So let's get another piece. Like I said, so another length of that. There we go. And then put that around this side. Like so. And that is the first colour arc of our rainbow. So it's going to be about that big. So then we need to cut some more string the next size so it sits around the edge. So about that long. And you'll see that these get progressively longer as you go, obviously. Then I need another 2 of this length. That's 2, and then the last one, and then I bind it again with the masking tape. There we go. Gosh, my masking tape is not helping today at all, is it? So get your 3 strings together and then bind it like that, like so. Lay them out. Now some people use wire in their rainbows as well. I haven't up to now, that doesn't mean I won't in future, but I just pull the shape as I go. So to try and form the rainbow, I just make sure that we're following the shape of the rainbow that we're trying to achieve. And so that one is going to be about here. Now this is a bit of a guide. Sometimes you need to play about with these as you're winding the string on each of your rainbows, but it gives you a good indication as you go about where your string needs to go to. There you go, so that's that one. Another one, so over the top, so holding that in place. So down to about here. Then I need another 2 of those. 1, 2. So the people that use the wire, all they do is once they've cut the shape of their rainbow using the rope, they then, as they bind the thread around the rope, they bind in a strip of wire as well. And obviously the wire can be bent to the shape that you want your rainbow arc to be. So they just use that as their guide effectively, which sounds an interesting way of doing it, and I've said it out loud, so I might try that next time. But first of all, I'll just carry on with this rainbow. So let's get this shape in place. So about here. That's the 3rd colour. There we go. And then one more for the 4th colour to go over the top. One, 2, and the 3rd rope. 3. Let's just move that out. Let's bind on the 2 sides of this rainbow. Set these 3 together. Oh, I just pulled that on so it's not the same length. There we go. Bring that round and get the last piece of this. Bring that arc over the top, and then it's roughly about there. Again, like I said, this, you can tweak this towards the end, you can undo your thread, you can do a bit more, undo a bit if you've gone too far on your rainbow arches. But there we go. So that'll make a nice medium size, little bit bigger than that. I think there was 2 in those, little rainbow. So what I need to do now is start with the binding. So you've got to decide on the order of your threads. So I think I'll go lightest to darkest, and then I'll put my gold between the 2 at the top on this one. So whichever order you want to go, but I tend to start with the smallest first. So then I grab my thread, undo a bit, like so. And how I do this is I just lie it down on the edge and then just start winding from the edge, and I go over the bit of thread that I'm holding down just to secure it in place as I go. And you just keep winding and winding as you go and introduce a curve of your rainbow as you go a little bit. Okay, so I will speed up the video. I will do each colour sped up, and then we'll come back and we shall assemble the rainbow. Okay, so I've done 3 of the rainbow arcs. Now, what I was thinking while I was doing that golden, I'm going to add in a little hoop on the top of that top one so it can be hung on the wall as well. So how I'm going to do that is I've cut another length of the rope and I'm about to wrap it. I picked out of my stash this lighter blue, just sits on the top, and I'm going to wrap this single thread with this one, sorry, the single piece of rope with this thread initially, and then these ends I'm going to leave unwrapped and I am going to wrap them in as I go round the arc with the darker blue. So initially I'll wrap this one and then I'll wrap that in with that one. So I'll show you quickly how I secure the ends of my string. I'll do it first on the loop bit and then I'll go through, once I've finished winding this 4th arc here, I will secure each of the ends on these other ones. You can see I've left them long for the moment. So what I do is I just do that last wind, I get my glue gun and add a tiny bit of glue on there and I wind into the glue like so and hold that there for a second for that to bind. And I get my scissors and I cut it really close like so, and then sometimes just to tidy it up I do another little bit on the top. Now be careful with hot glue, obviously it can be very, very hot, so sometimes it's best to use it on the low setting and then you can play about with it a little bit. And there we go, that's that one secure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bind this and I'm going to, as I go, you'll see me measuring in half to try and make sure I get that in the center. I will start binding that 4th arc. So there we have our 4 arcs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to secure the ends and I will then secure each loop together, and we need to make sure that the loops match up like so, and that hanger is in the middle. So I will initially stick the bottom one, the middle one, finish this one off and stick that to the second one in. So I'm going to secure the ends here. So I'm going to take off the masking tape on this side. There we go. And then using the same, how I did it earlier, a blob of glue on the end. Not much, doesn't take a lot. This isn't thick thread. And so wind that in and hold it. And then trim off. Let me see, scissors, they seem sharper. Oops. And trim off that thread, like so. And then just catch the end pieces. Tiny bit of glue there. And smear it in. So that is loop 1 of the rainbow. Now I'll do loop 2 of the rainbow, but I'm going to measure up to make sure that the winding of the wool is at the same point. As you can see here, if I line up the two start sides, the winding of the wool this side is too long on this side, so I need to undo a little bit like so. Add a blob of glue, then wind that in, hold it in place, and just make sure that's in the right place before I trim off. So line up that side, bring it round. Yep, that's looking good. So then trim off that piece. Oops, there we go. And then bit of glue on the end. There we go. To hold in those stray pieces of thread. And there's the second arc. So now what we can do, once you've done at least two, you can take off your masking tapes from all your ends, so release the clouds as such. Okay, that's that one. And then taking off the masking tape of the second one. There we go. And then taking off this side here, this one here, like that. There we go. So we have our two arcs. So what we need to do now is run a thin bead of glue around the top of this arc, just to secure it in place on the next arc, and then we can add it more as we go. So get that one in place, and then along the top. There we go. Add that one on. And then the last bit down this side. There we go. Those two arcs put together, all glued together. So now moving on to the gold one, doing exactly the same. So bending round and then looking at this side, releasing a little bit of it and getting that glue in place. Okay, and then taking off the masking tape. Okay, and then it's just a case of doing exactly the same to that third layer. The same thing to secure the third arc, so a bit of blob of glue there. Now you need to move pretty quick with the metallic thread, it doesn't stick as well, you need it hot. That's one bit, and then in here another run, and hold it in place as you go. Any bits that squeeze out as you're going, you can just pick them off once they're dry. There we go, last bit, so secure that one in. There we go, so that's the third arc on and done. Now for the final one. Now I've got to try and make sure that we get this one lined up properly due to the hanger on the top. So let's, I think, maybe about there. There we go. So this side looks like it's about the right. This side, I need to bring that one up a tiny bit, but unfortunately that is the side we started with, so I have to muck about with that slightly. to get that equaled. So I'll close off this side, undo the tape from each side, and then we'll just do a little tweak on that side to get it the right length. So I'll take off the masking tape first, actually, because I haven't left much space to be able to close off that end there. So I need to get that one done like that, and close that end off there, and just hold that in place. Trim off so it's a bit easier to manage, and then cut off flush. There we go. And then another tiny little bit of glue, get rid of the excess. And another tiny bit of glue to tidy up those ends. And just hold it in. Okay, so now I just need to measure out this side. So I think that works out about there. I need to stick that one on, like that, and this one needs to come up about 1/2 centimetre or so. So I'll undo this tape. Like so. And then we need to find the last bit of string, the first one that we wound round. Get your scissors, slide them in there and snip to cut that, to loosen it up, like so. And then just unwind as you go to the length and the place that you need them to be. Okay, so a little bit more. Yeah, about there. So then we trim off the one that's still down the middle. Fold that over so we get that right in. Excess little bits. And then using the same technique as the other side. So just a bit of glue, lob in, and then just wind it in so it holds. That's set for a sec, and then trim off the excess thread. There we go. And then we have our 2 rainbow ends. So now we need to fix this one in place using the same technique as we did with the other bits. So starting here, running a bead along the edge. Okay, and then hold it in place for a few seconds. Let it catch, and then moving up round the edge of our hanging rainbow and over the top. And that's set. And move on. And the last bit, there we go. That's the back that we're looking at, and that's the front. And again, there's our little rainbow with the hanger in place. So now we need to work on the clouds. So what we do is we look at where the smallest cloud length is, and then we trim all the other clouds lengths, all the ends of the rainbow to roughly match. We will tidy these up again properly in a bit, and the same the other side. So what I do is I have a look and get something to measure against. Okay, so it's roughly about that length. Put that on there and trim across to match. There we go. So there we have, slightly longer ones in the middle. There we go. So there we have the lengths of the clouds. So what I do now, people do this all sorts of different ways online. So what I do is I get a needle and I turn it up the wrong way, and I just gently push through each of the strands to unseparate them. And there we go, that's the first one done. And people use brushes and stuff for these. The brush method works on certain ropes. I found on the rope that I have, it's not great. So I found this is the best way. But if a brush method works for you and the type of rope you've got, fine, use that. So what they do is they get like a tangle brush and they just gently brush out all of these ends. And sometimes that fluffs them up a bit more, but this rope doesn't really fluff up that I've got here. So if you've got that kind of rope, go for it. Otherwise, use a pair of tweezers, sharper tweezers, or like this, a needle, or you know, a nail, or something with a bit of a point, just to unpick these weaved ends. So I will speed up the video now, just to show you the unpicking all of these, and then we will have a look at the final bit. So that's all the clouds all unpicked. So now you can see there's a little bit fluffy on the ends. So what I do now is I just get my scissors and just sharpen up those ends as much as possible. But it doesn't have to be perfect, they're just clouds after all. There we go, and now this side. There we go. Not much to be done there. And there we have a finished rainbow hanging in blue. Isn't that lovely? Now, these are the ones that I've done here. Instead of doing the gluing method between the rainbow arcs, I stitched them. Now, my preference is the stitching, especially on these slightly smaller ones. As you can see, it's literally not even a width of my hand, this size. That's because it can get a bit messy with the glue, with the smaller bits. If you're using larger pieces of string, so, you know, rope, so you're looking at like a centimetre diameter or 1.5 centimetre diameter, then the glue can get hidden easily within the arcs. So to stitch them, all I do is I literally have my needle and I go through, loose bit of yellow, so I go through each arc backwards and forwards like that onto the same spot. You can see where it pulls slightly, but overall it gives quite a neat effect, and they hold on really well. All these are stitched and they don't come apart at all, so it's complete preference and how you prefer to do it. What I will do is I will do a larger rainbow in one of my next videos using a thicker diameter of the rope. So I'll get like a 1.5 diameter rope, and then I will try again the glue. But I will also do a video potentially with the smaller ones like these, because I like these, because you can add these then. I'll make them into little key rings. So that's what I will do, that I'll make a little key ring rainbow instead of the hanging one, and I'll show you how I do the stitching. But that's this one for now, so thank you for watching, and I will see you soon in one of my next videos.